Hi, we're so glad you're joining us here at St. James. As we enter into the second week of Advent, we're going to be looking at the theme of the second week, the theme of peace. Now, Advent, as it goes through, as we're looking at those themes of arriving, of waiting, of anticipating, and of preparing, both for what Christ has already done for us, but also what is still promised and what we cling to as Christians. We get into this second week and we look at peace. And peace is one of those things that is sometimes hard to really get our head around. It's something that gets talked about a lot, and it's something I think we all really want, something we all desire. There's not many people I ask if the question, do you like peace? Everyone's going to agree, yeah, for the most part. But what are we actually talking about when we say peace? More importantly, what is Scripture talking about when we say peace, and why is it something that's so important for this season when we're preparing for Christ? Well, it all first begins with, what kind of peace are we talking about? Most of the time, I think when we hear it in the news or we hear it, just in conversation, we're talking about a peace that's meant to be around us or meant to be around the world, a peace kind of as a lack of conflict. And certainly I think this year, with all that's been taking place, both in our own country, around our world, a lack of conflict sounds really good. Let's be honest. But that peace, as much as it is something that is good or desirable, it's not completely what Scripture talks about. It's not all the way there. It's sort of like a half-baked cookie. There's something more that Scripture actually talks about when we're talking about peace. And that's a peace that is, rather than a lack of something, it's a fullness. Rather than just being missing of conflict, it's actually meant to be a peace that is grounded in the knowledge that we are God's, that we belong to God, and that God has chosen us. That interconnected relationship that we can have with God, with our Creator, that invites us into peace. And it all begins in that relationship. It's why it's part of the Advent season. It's why it's part of that both waiting and arrival and that anticipating. Because in order to really know that peace, we have to know Jesus. And in knowing Him, we have that sense of fullness. Now, a couple weeks ago when we started this video series, I was inviting people to join us no matter where you are in your walk, in your faith, in your journey. The reality is, I'm sure there are some that are watching this that you're probably wondering, how do I know Jesus? Or how do I know that I know Jesus? And is this all just a bunch of hogwash? Well, all I can do is speak from my heart and from what I know. And the reality is, I know the kind of person that I am, or the person I certainly could be. And that without my faith, without that reminder of what Jesus teaches us to do and how to act, there's been a lot of times in my life where I would probably end up on the side of conflict, or I would end up on the side of saying things or doing things that I certainly didn't mean to. But instead, because I know Jesus, because I do have a life that is grounded in prayer, and most of the time I'm really good at trying to keep up with that. And certainly I'm be the first one to admit I do falter in that too. I, like everyone, have ups and downs. But I also know that even when I'm down, or when I've fallen away, or when I feel like I'm not all that connected to God, I'm still invited to come and to seek that peace once more. And so, as I'm talking from my own experience, that peace that I know, it's a peace that invites me to look way beyond what's happening here and now. Instead, to see things from a bigger perspective. I think this year, that kind of peace is a peace that we all need. Because it's so easy to be caught up in what happens day to day, week to week, to have all these changes, and certainly in the last number of weeks, we've seen things changing, daily. And yet to know that offer of a peace that goes beyond all of that, a peace that is meant to last from one end of eternity to the other, a peace that invites us to see how there is still blessing even in the middle of the hardship. That's a peace that I desire. I'm sure it's a peace that you desire. And it's a peace that Jesus offers us. And so, as you take some time this week in your Advent reflections and prayers, I pray, would you join with me in seeking that kind of a peace that sees and knows and can recognize God's hand of blessing even amongst the hardships. And maybe, just maybe, as we see his peace and see his blessing, this will be a Christmas that is unlike any other. Thanks for joining us. May God bless you. Bye-bye.